Hello, Tim Kerin here from Mortgage Choice in Kingsley. Today I'm going to talk briefly about how the First Home Owners Grant works in Western Australia. And the reason for that is that I've been finding lately there's a bit of confusion amongst the people I'm talking to, particularly first home owners, about how it works. That hasn't always been true, but I think there's been enough rule changes over the last 5 to 10 years that it's a bit confusing which rules still apply and which ones don't. So here it is laid out, here's how it works, here's what's important. The First Home Owners Grant, if you apply for it and it's approved in Western Australia, and it is a state-based grant, so it's different in every state of Australia, in WA it gives you two things. One is potentially some free money, and two is the first homeowner rate of stamp duty. So it might give you one or the other or both, it depends on your situation. So in terms of what I'm calling free money, that's not the official title for it, it's just the best thing I can think of. If you're buying an established property, that amount is zero. So if you're buying, as a first home owners grant, an already existing house that's already had someone live in it, that's what we call an established property, you don't get anything in the free money aspect. If, however, you're supporting the construction industry, and by that I mean you're building your own first home, or you're buying something that's just been built and not lived in yet, then you get $10,000. So that's a fair difference and can make a big difference to your deposit, obviously. The other aspect of the grant is the first homeowner rate of stamp duty. So the way that works is that if you're buying an established property, the stamp duty you pay as a first homeowner is zero all the way up to a purchase price of $430,000. From $430,000 up to $530,000, it's a sliding scale up to the full amount of stamp duty that a non-first homeowner would pay. So at $530,000, a non-first homeowner and a first homeowner both pay $19,190 of stamp duty. But at $430,000, a first homeowner will pay zero. So a rule of thumb for a first homeowner buying an established property is for every $10,000 above $430,000, you're going to pay about $1,920 of stamp duty. So at $440,000, you're going to pay $1,920. At $450,000, you're going to pay $3,840, and so on, all the way up to the full amount at $530,000. So for example, halfway between $430,000 and $530,000, which is $480,000, you'll pay half the stamp duty that a non-first homeowner would pay. That's for established property. For buying a block of land, which would be part of what you would do in a construction, the thresholds are a bit different. It's no stamp duty up to $300,000 on the block, and then it's the full rate that a non-first homeowner would pay of $13,010 when the purchase price of the land is $400,000 or higher. So nothing up to $300,000, and then sliding scale from $300,000 to $400,000 on vacant land. So in summary, there's a couple of key scenarios I see most often. The first would be someone buying a block of land and building a house on it, and in that case, as long as the block is $300,000 or less, they don't pay any stamp duty, and they get $10,000 when the slab goes down. The other scenario I would see most commonly would be someone buying an established property. If they buy an established property for $430,000 or less, okay, they don't get $10,000, but they still get all of their stamp duty waived. And all the way up to $530,000, that stamp duty concession still applies. It's just that the closer you get to $530,000, the less stamp duty you get discounted. If you're buying an established property above $530,000, there's no point applying for the First Home Owners Grant in Western Australia. It doesn't give you anything at all. I hope that clarifies a few things. I hope it doesn't confuse things further, but if it does raise any more questions for you, or if you've got some specific numbers you'd like to run, just get hold of me and I'm happy to calculate it for you. Thanks.